frozen dessert, molded into the shape of a ruined classical temple, can be read as one vivid expression of a society's view of itself and its ideals. So can a round ground hamburger patty between two circular buns. Food, what is chosen from the possibilities available, how it is presented, how it is eaten, with whom and when, and how much time is allotted to cooking and eating it, is one of the means by which a society creates itself and acts out its aims and fantasies. Changing or unchanging food choices and presentations are part of every society's tradition and character. Food shapes us and expresses us even more definitively than our furniture or houses or utensils do. I think this realization first dawned on me, it is a common discovery in our day, while I was chopping onions for sauce soubise, a recipe which my husband and I were carefully following from Elizabeth David's French country cooking, one day about 15 years ago. Chopping onions is not an occupation which favors dreaming. Perhaps it was boredom or annoyance, or simply that when you chop onions you had better keep your mind alert, and my concentration spilled over. But I started wondering about onions. Every time anything savory was cuisiné, it seemed to require onions. They smelled strongly and stung my eyes. Why? Some were quite hard to peel and others easy. Why? Others again were red. What made them so? Where did they come from? I had a dim memory that someone had said, that onions were the chief sustenance of the people who built the pyramids. Was it true? Were they the same onions? I knew that onions were used in various ways in folk medicine. What ways, and were they efficacious? The next day I was at the library, supposed, I remember, to be doing research for an essay on the causes and results of the Battle of Arginusae as background to the frogs of Aristophanes. Stuck for inspiration, and abstractedly flipping through the catalogue of what happens to be the largest library in Canada, I looked under the subject heading Onions. There were 3 books listed on onions: T. Greiner, The New Onion Culture, 1911, H. Laughlin, Duration of the Several Mitotic Stages in the Dividing Root-Tip Cells of the Common Onion, 1919, and H. A. Jones and L. K. Mann, Onions and Their Allies, 1963. All 3 were on the other side of the campus, in the Science and Medicine Library. It had clearly been decided that onions could in no way interest someone in arts or in social sciences. I have just checked the catalogue again, and these are still the University of Toronto Library's entire holdings of books on onions. A week later, I walked across the campus and looked at Onions and Their Allies. I had doubtless eaten onions several times since the first glance through the catalogue. Presumably preparing those dinners jogged my memory. The work, with its pleasantly punning title, is an excellent and useful one, all about breeding, planting, storing, and classifying not only onions, but also garlic, leeks, chives, and other alliums. There was, in 1963, no agreement among scientists about how onions made eyes weep. During the following decade, the complex chemistry of this process was to be explored and explained to those whose knowledge of chemistry equips them to understand the explanation. There is in Onions and Their Allies some information, but much less than I wanted, about the great alliaceous odor. Nothing is said about the various lusts for and prejudices against the eating of onions in our or in any other culture. The history and social mythology of onions takes up just 3 pages of the 2nd chapter of the book. It includes a couple of paragraphs each on ancient Egypt, on India, and on Greek herbalists. I was soon to find that in order to answer the questions I had about onions, and to clear up all the uncertainties which would subsequently arise, I would have to search in at least 11 different collections of books, and read articles in scientific periodicals, journals of anthropology, sociology, and folklore, histories of religion, culinary historical writings in various journals, business and trade magazines, and so on. There was no such problem with my essay on the Battle of Arginusae. All in one section of the library, in a day or 2, and with relatively little trouble, I had a pad full of notes and a bibliography of books and articles in French, Italian, German, and English, going back nearly 2